grandkids. It's going to blow out your pensions. It's going to blow out Social Security. It's going to drive up interest rates. People aren't going to be able to purchase homes or cars or appliances. Massive inflation. And you could have deflation, which causes, in addition to massive inflation, the price of products drop through the floor. And you might say, well, that's a great time to buy. No, because people aren't going to produce them. And it is incredibly difficult, sometimes impossible, for societies to bail themselves out of these situations. Nancy Pelosi will be gone. The architects of the demise of America will be gone while America is in the middle of a demise. I want to go back to where I was. I want you to listen to Brian Stelter, who's a real pig. I'm just being honest. Or as Joe Biden would say, 4 letters, P-I-G. And he's a real pig. He's a punk. He's an ideologue. And here's what he had to say about the president's perfectly legitimate response to a hostile reporter who's attempting to turn this into a race issue, where clearly was not. Go.
Well, clearly the president was rattled enough to walk off because he didn't want to hear the questions.
The president actually wasn't rattled. He was disgusted with the disrespect and the dishonesty of low IQ buffoons like you. Now, these people all have a thin skin, as you could tell by these 2 female reporters and now this reporter. I'll call him an it because, again, we're not allowed to identify by actual biological genitalia. Go ahead.
And Wei Zhejiang. And I think what we saw in that exchange with Wei Zhejiang is something that has racial overtones. It is racist to look at an Asian American White House correspondent and say, ask China.
Excuse me, you puke. You are sick. You are demented. The way you twist what this president said. I just played it for you folks. I saw it in real time when it happened. Just appalling how these demagogues get away with this. There's no self-policing, let alone policing at all in this industry. Just outrageous. Go ahead.
Happening in a vacuum. This is part of a pattern of behavior from the president that goes back many years. So he doesn't have the benefit of the doubt that someone might have if, for the first time ever in their life, they made a comment like that to a reporter. But the president has been rattled by Wei Zhejiang's questions in the past. He has treated her and other female reporters differently in the past. And he's also had this pattern of reacting to minority journalists in a very specific and different way, Wolf. For example, a few years ago, President Trump said to April Ryan, a black correspondent, to follow up with the Congressional Black Caucus because he kind of just assumed they were friends. And here today he's saying to a Chinese-born journalist, ask China. Now, of course, he says he was directly...
shut up, you idiot. You're spinning and whining and going on, trying to turn this man into something he is not. Just incredible what goes on at Jeff Motherzucker's network. And, I want to remind you, AT&T owns CNN. Mark, what can we do about this? Well, do you use AT&T? Comcast owns NBC and MSNBC. There's things you can do. These are Goliath of corporations, but they buy these cost losers for immunity and protection. Brian Stelter will never do a hostile story on AT&T any more than Andrea Mitchell will do a hostile story on Comcast. As they're ripping us off. Comcast, I tell you, I love the workers who are at Comcast. Every one of them's friendly. But what a poorly run company. It is a disaster. And AT&T, same thing. No wonder their news outlets suck. And this, again, is the problem. You have reporters who have no knowledge about science, no knowledge about medicine. These are political reporters. They call them White House correspondents who are spewing their politics, have no interest in really getting... And they scotch again. Mr. President, how come all of you keep getting tests, but the average American can't get a test? Mr. President, how come you're not wearing a mask? Now, tell me, do any of these questions... Are they even intended to elicit information that's useful to you? Do you want to know why the president and his people keep getting tested, reporters, really? He's the president. He is the executive branch. He's the commander-in-chief. He's more important in his role than I am, than you are, and so forth and so on. I don't mean that he's not equal to us as human beings. I'm talking about his role as president of the United States. Barack Obama would never be asked this, why don't you wear a mask? And he should. But why doesn't he wear a mask? Why do the people around him not wear masks? It's the same media that not only supported but participated and aided and abetted what took place with General Flynn, the other surrogates in the Trump campaign and Trump officials. They have absolutely no problem with tyranny and totalitarianism in the cause of their Democrat Party. None whatsoever. Nancy Pelosi just announced today that she's a fascist. Now, I've been calling her that for a long time. I didn't call her Eva Braun. I didn't do any of that, the way they called Trump Hitler. But her instincts are fascistic. We have a House of Representatives, not the House of a Representative. And somehow these people are able to travel from all corners of the country and come and meet in order to vote for a bill that Nancy Pelosi wrote on the toilet. That's what I hear. I don't know. On the toilet. 1,850 pages. Affects your life, the life of your children and grandchildren, the kind of economy we're going to have for generations to come. And the only thing we know about it are these general platitudes. Oh, it's the HEROES bill, the HEROES Act. Oh, then I got to vote for that. It's the HEROES Act. By all means. Is she called on the carpet by congressional reporters for her fascism? Not in the least. Is she called on the carpet for writing a bill herself, or maybe with a few lieutenants? Not in the least. Is her obvious effort to ram this stuff through, to bypass the representative part of the House, and to keep the American people blind and deaf and dumb to what's taking place? Is she called on the carpet for any of that? No, of course not. It's the HEROES Act. So if you support HEROES, you'll vote for it. If you don't support HEROES, you'll vote against it. $3 trillion. In my wildest imagination, I never thought she'd come up with this. Why not $300 trillion while you're at it? $3 trillion? I think the science says that she's a nut, Mr. Producer. No, I don't know. We need to get some public health officials to tell us. What's Romney think about this? Everybody's waiting for Romney to find out. I don't know. He hasn't said a word. He's attacking Trump. He hadn't said a thing about what Pelosi's doing. And you won't find a single criticism. Not one. From any of the Brian Stelters, Wolf Blitzers, Caitlin Collins, I believe that's her name. Any of these people of Nancy Pelosi. Never. Never. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Here we be. Levin TV. Oh, it rhymes. You know what we do at Levin TV on the Blaze TV network? Man, oh Manischewitz, you don't know what you're missing if you're not watching it. We give you intelligent content you won't see anywhere else. I don't have anybody telling me what to do or what I can't do. I let my hair down, Mr. Producer. Did you know that? And then I lost it. We've done deep dives on the genius of federalism. We've done deep dives on what happened to the nursing homes in and around New York, thanks to Slow Cuomo. We talk at length about out-of-control spending. We talk at length about the violations of our Bill of Rights. We specify what governors we're talking about. We'll go overseas. We'll take a look at what's going on in Israel, Europe, China. We've spent a lot of time over the years on China. And if you don't get Levin TV, you've missed it all. History and current actions have shown us that these so-called progressives, statists, will use any crisis to further their big government agenda, and that includes, in fact, it especially underscores, the media. Small businesses continue to be hurt while the left holds them hostage in order to gain more power over each and every American. There's nothing more important in these times than the facts, and that's exactly what I do on Levin TV. And smart people like you who listen to this program, you deserve smart programming. But remember, we can only continue to produce this type of programming if you continue to participate. So I want to talk to those of you who can. Those of you who can't, I totally understand. These are tough times. But those of you who are curious about checking in and doing it, you need to do it this week because our special $30 off ends on Friday. $30 off? Yes. The annual subscription is $99. Until Friday, it is $69. And we've made it easier for those of you who've been thinking about it. You're on the fence. Just go to levintv.com, LEVINTV.com, promo code Levin. I've never left you astray. We work very hard on this program. That's just over $5 a month for the most amazing shows and programming available. And there are many programs, great programs. My buddy Glenn Beck, my buddy Steven Crowder, and many more. Andrew Wilkow, Phil Robertson. Can't remember everybody, but they're good. That's LevinTV.com, promo code Levin. LevinTV.com, promo code LEVIN. I think I covered it there. Yes, so these reporters, many of them are very young, and they're influenced by the likes of Acosta and others, but they're in there for the purpose of disrupting the press conference, and they know they're going to get support from their colleagues. Rather than a seasoned journalist pulling them aside and say, hey, look, this isn't really the way you're supposed to do things here. You can be aggressive, you can be tough, but you need to respect the office, even if you don't respect the man, even if you're a left-wing kook. You need to show the American people that you respect the office and you respect them. So trying to create and trigger an issue of a race where none exists, and then running to the defense of that reporter and disrupting the press conference so the president has to walk away, that's not appropriate. That's not how we journalists conduct ourselves. Now, we know, Caitlin, that you're 28 years old. You got a ways to go. But you have a big job. You're a White House correspondent, so you need to show a little bit more maturity, like maybe you're 30 or 31. And they have this other lady, what is her name? Alcindor. Can't remember her first name, out of National Public Radio, NPR. She's busy throwing mud balls and political hand grenades left and right. And I'm convinced now what happens is it's a cabal. They coordinate in advance. One promises to advance the career and the cause of the other. The president is the enemy. The American people are irrelevant. Gathering the news, irrelevant. Loaded with gotcha questions. And their own hypocrisy and contradictions are of no relevance. You're not doing enough testing. How come you get all these tests? What kind of a question is that? What do they think? What do they think? What do they want the president not to function? They want his administration, his immediate White House and executive office building not to function? How absurd is that? Did you know that media organizations are requesting subsidies from the federal government? Did you know this, Mr. Producer? Did you see that? Because more and more they're one and the same, folks. It's amazing how they call Fox state TV. Fox is not state TV. State TV is the media that embraces a big, powerful, centralized government, and a media that's filled with Democrat activists pretending to be professional journalists. That's state TV. That's what I wrote about it on Freedom of the Press. If you listen to the media, you can't tell the difference between the media and the Democrats. You simply can't. You can't tell the difference between Nancy Pelosi and Brian Stelter. And it was even worse, what was said about the President of the United States. Even worse, they always attack him. Your mental ability. His mental ability is very, very poor,